All right, we're back, coming to you a day early. We're going to get you ready for the weekend. We missed Monday. I had it done, but didn't have a chance to do a video before the early lock at 2 o'clock. So sorry about that. We'll get you ready for the weekend a day early, though. Hopefully you can get in on some deals before the rest of the crowd comes around. I've come up with a new metric today. It takes into account standard deviation. Got a new formula. I'm going to go over that a little bit, but as always, in the show notes below, we'll have the links to the different L10 levels. So you can look right through that if you want to skip around. Let's get into it. One of the coolest things about this project for me is figuring out new ways to use the Google Sheets to analyze the data, come up with ways to rank the players each week. One way that I've found that is kind of interesting is figuring out the standard deviations. So starting with 0 L10s and going up, I've got a new formula to rank the players. So my new formula takes into account all the things that I think are important. What's their season average? What's their L10? What's the difference between the two? What's their standard deviation? So how much variance in between game scores for them? And then what's their Sorare points per minute? It takes into account all those things, adding the first three together and then multiplying by the points per minute. So it gives a little bit of a decline to guys under 1 point per minute and a little bit of an increase to those over 1 point per minute. And then it spits out a number. And the number at the top of each threshold should be the best play for that number for the given game week. Enough babbling on about process, though. Let's just get to the results. So starting with 0, Wendell Moore is your best 0 here, and it's not very good. 7 games played out of 32, so about a quarter of the time he gets in the game. I doubt he gets in this week. I would pass. Ish Wainwright in Portland, probably not much of a chance he gets in. They are banged up, but I would pass on him too, but he's your best at 1. Josh Minot, I think, is my favorite at 2. He's been in 12 of the Wolves' 32 games, so you're looking at a third of the games. So if they blow somebody out, maybe he gets some run. Again, I would pass. Kessler Edwards in Sacramento has been in 25 games for the Kings this year, so he usually gets in, although with Alex Len back, I would pass on him at 3. At 4, you have 2 guys. I would say Jordan McLaughlin is your most interesting. He did get 12 minutes last game in a game that they were trying to come back and be competitive in. Played a lot last year. He had games in the 20s pretty regularly. I think he's an option for you this week. Davion Mitchell in Sacramento seems to have bumped past Keon Ellis. And he looks like he's reclaiming some of those backup point guard minutes. He may be a guy that gets a little bit of run this week. He's been in a lot of games, first-round pick from last year. Not super productive, but certainly capable of something. I know the Wolves really like Leonard Miller, and at the 5, I guess he's the best option this week, although he's only been in 4 games, so chances of him playing are very slim. He is a rookie, so it helps your collection score a little bit. And if he ever does play a little more at some point during the year, his production has been off the charts at 1.86. Obviously, it won't stick there. But I know they like him. They'll probably give him some run at some point this season. And moving on to that 6 to 10 threshold, JaVale McGee has lost his minutes to Alex Len right now. I'm watching McGee because he's always undervalued. He's a productive 1.08 points per minute. I would not recommend him this week as he's not getting minutes. At 7, we have Troy Brown Jr. as the best option in Minnesota. He's appeared in all but a couple games for them. He's probably the most likely to play, but I wouldn't recommend him either. I think there are better options. New Orleans, Jordan Hawkins coming off 26 minutes, but that was in a blowout. I don't think he plays more than 10 minutes if everybody's healthy, and he's going to need more than that to get you anything. Alex Len is a good play this week. Took over for McGee. He's been playing 12 to 15 minutes the last 3 games. 1.18 points per minute is good. I think he's going to beat the 8 pretty easily, and he's still pretty cheap. Kevin Knox, I wanted to highlight because he's starting again, I guess. I don't know what they're doing in Detroit. I don't think they know what they're doing in Detroit. But don't pay up for him. That's my advice. On to the 9s, I think Jovic only plays here and there. He either plays a lot or doesn't play at all, and recently he hasn't been playing at all, so I would avoid Jovic. Sasser's a guy I really like, and Detroit just cannot figure this stuff out. I don't know if he's really bad defensively or what, but he's been so good this year. He can really shoot it. 48% from the field, 42 from 3, 90 at the line. I mean, I don't understand why they're not playing this guy. Like, he seems like he would be one of their better players. Maybe he gets in. He did get in a little bit last game, but their rotations, he hadn't played at all the previous 3 before last game, so I don't think you can trust him yet. But definitely a guy to add for depth if you can get a good deal on him. I think he's still about $5. But these rookies, once they start playing, their value goes up. He's a guy I would definitely be targeting because Detroit's obviously not going anywhere this year. They're probably going to end up trading their vets, and then some of their young guys will get to play. So hopefully second half of the season here, you're going to see a lot of Marcus Sasser. At the 10 range, you're looking at Jayshawn Tate. We've been talking about him for the last couple of weeks. With Dylan Brooks out, he's been averaging in that 28, 29 minute range, sometimes more than that. Not real productive, but with an L10 of 10, he's easily ahead of his minutes for the season, so he's going to beat that almost every time. I would say if he doesn't get you 20 to 25 over the weekend, I'd be very surprised. All right, in the 11 to 15 range, 111 to highlight is Dyson Daniels. He's getting a lot less minutes than his season average, but he does still play. He's a defense-first guy. He just needs blocks and steals to rack up some points because he's not going to score. Not a good shooter. Don't love it. 12s, DeAndre Jordan's more of a stash in case Jokic goes out or misses a game here and there to rest. His standard deviation is over 13, which is really good. Haywood Highsmith, another defense-first guy. Miami's just always hurt. Half their roster's always a game time decision. When he plays, he has a pretty high variance too because he gets blocks and steals sometimes. So he'll knock down a couple threes and then get you a couple steals, and all of a sudden you're looking at 30 points. So Chris Boucher, I thought this trade with New York would really help because they traded away Achua, they traded away Anunoby, and that should have opened up a lot of front court minutes in Toronto, I would think. But he's actually stayed right about the same. He's getting about 10 to 15 minutes and had a couple bad games. He's just a skilled guy. I think he probably gets more minutes eventually here. At least I hope he does. Oh, Alec Burks. Alec Burks up to 14. I mean, 10 was better, but 14 still good. He's producing high 20s regularly now. We'd hoped he'd get back in the regular rotation for Detroit, and he certainly has. 18 and a half minutes per game on the year. I'd say, he's been in the low 20s to mid 20s the last couple of games. Detroit will screw it up probably, but right now he's producing, and at 14 he can outproduce that. Isaiah Joe, this number is just too low for him. He's too good a shooter. He's going to have a game where he gets hot. He will put you up 30. Too low for him. Kevin Huerter, out as a starter. Last couple games, I think he got maybe around 15 minutes. So watch the minutes with him. He's certainly capable of popping. Obviously they wanted him to be a big part of their plans this year, and he just hasn't had it. But he will have games where he's hot and he will score you a bunch of points. Kayvon Looney, I'm just expecting a big game out of him at some point. Maybe it's when Draymond comes back in a couple weeks, but he's struggled for most of the year, but his production's still decent. His minutes are fairly steady, although down from his season average. I think there's a big hit coming soon. He's been in a lull for a while. I got a bunch in the 16 to 20 range. Let's start with Herb Jones. This L10 is just way too low for him. He's always going to play big minutes because of his defense. I think he's got a big game coming. It was probably going to happen last game, but then they pulled out their starters because they were blowing him out so bad. 16 is just way too low. His season average is 25. His minutes are safe. Variance is huge for him because he's another guy that works off of blocks and steals. When his three-point shot's falling, capable of 50. I would say he's a great buy right now. He's still pretty cheap. DeLon Wright's mixing back in Washington as the backup point. They don't like playing their starters more than 30 minutes, doesn't seem like. So DeLon Wright's going to have a role. Productive at 1.02 points per minute. Good variance on him. He hasn't played much this season, so we'll see what he's got. Xavier Tillman, a couple of bad games. He's still around 16. Love this play right now. I think he's a great guy to add for this week. Mo Wagner, certainly capable of beating a 16. He has a regular rotation spot. I think his L10 is just a little low right now, that's all. And Najee Marshall, we talk about all the time, still under $2. Just has a regular role in New Orleans. Even with everybody healthy, he's going to have some decent games here and there. Santi Aldama in Memphis, certainly capable of big games. I think he just had one the other night. He's not going to do it every night, but that's fine. Big variance, big game, little game, big game, little game. Certainly capable. Great outside shooter, grab rebounds. Jackson ever misses. Any of the bigs get hurt again and he has to play more minutes, he's definitely worth a roster spot. Jalen Smith in Indiana. I mean, there are so many guys in Indiana that are good plays because they just run up and down the floor. They score a ton of points. Jalen Smith's a backup big. He's been working his way back. If Miles Turner ever missed, I can see him putting up a huge game. He's 1.19 points per minute. On the rise, L10 still too low at 18. Luke Cornett's kind of interesting. Boston has Porzingis and Horford. They do not like to play back-to-backs, so when they have a back-to-back, it seems like one will sit the first night, the other will sit the second night. If they were to both sit, Cornett's had some huge games. He looks healthy again. I would say he's a good pickup when he's cheap. Keep an eye on him. Been talking about Sarge and Golden State. Looks like they're going with the younger guys. I've seen a lot of Kuminga, a lot of Trace Jackson-Davis the last week or so. Sarge kind of getting phased out, but still really effective. 1.08 points per minute. I think there's a role here for him. I think it's more of a down-the-road play. Mathurin in Indiana obviously had a huge game last week. His variance is insane, 12.72, so a 19's pretty low. He could certainly give you a big game, but he's high risk, high reward. Isaiah Jackson, the third center. Now that Smith is back, his role's decreased a little bit. L10's pretty high for him right now, but if you can get him for cheap, it will go down a little bit, and then he may be more effective if someone else goes out. And McConnell, so went back to the bench when Nembhard got healthy. Nembhard comes in, plays 8 minutes, gets hurt last game. McConnell comes into relief and puts up 40 points. So he's a 20. Great when he plays. You just got to make sure he's going to get in the game. If Nembhard's out for an extended period, I think he's back in the rotation, and he's always effective. I only have a couple things to discuss in this 21 to 25 range. First, Jalen Suggs. He's really improved his shooting this season, 0.93 points per minute. He's shooting 47 from the field, 37 from three. That's way better than he was doing last year. His defense keeps him on the floor. He's a starter. Minutes per on the year are 26.5, but lately he's been getting over 30. I would say he's a good play with an L10 of 21. Alex Caruso in Chicago, the minutes are up. He's closer to 30. Levine's ramping up, should be coming back. Maybe Caruso falls back a little bit, but right now he's 22 for an L10. You could certainly do worse here. Honestly, I prefer Suggs. Quickly had one game in Toronto, put up 33.7 in 28 minutes as a starter. L10 still 23. If you got it Quickly, I would be playing him this week, but his price has gotten so high I wouldn't go out and buy him for $14. Jordan Clarkson put up a triple-double. Looks like he's back to full health finally. L10's 23. He can certainly beat that, and his variance is one of the highest for a non-star. 15 is crazy high, so great games, terrible games. He's had a lot of both this year. He may kill you. He may win a week for you. And then Draymond, he's coming back. Still an L10 of 23. Obviously, he's been suspended for weeks. He should be coming back, I would think, in the next couple of weeks, and he's going to be a good play as soon as he gets back out there. L10 of 23 is just too low for him. Cole Anthony, I actually like Suggs better. He's shooting better from the field, playing more minutes. He's the starter. Why would you play the 24 Cole Anthony when you could play the 21 Suggs unless the price is really different? And the price difference is about $1. All right, this 26 number is where a lot of guys live that I really like. Cam Thomas, Karis LeVert, Trey Murphy, and Buddy Hield, they're all here. All really high variance players. Cam Thomas just put up a 4. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in Brooklyn, but they're not playing well right now. He's certainly capable of big games. Karis LeVert, you've seen explode for a couple big ones, then have a couple clunkers. Trey Murphy's been out the last 2 games. He's certainly capable of big games. 26 is a fine number for him. Buddy Hield, I think he just put up a 7, and obviously he averages 25. So he's going to have his 50s mixed in with his 7s. He just needs to get hot. Mikal Bridges is a must-play if you have him at 27. He's the number 1 option in Brooklyn. Had a bad year, but certainly capable of big games. Malcolm Brogdon in Portland, they're banged up. I think maybe Simons is back today, but regardless, Brogdon's going to have his games. Chris Paul's been shooting a lot better the last couple games for Golden State, so he may be worth a look at 28. At 29, I've got Michael Porter Jr. as my best play. I don't love him. His variance is decent. But he's fairly consistent. He'll get you somewhere in the 30s a lot of the time. And then Brook Lopez, I think he's a great play this week at 30. Variance of 12. He just has those games where he blocks 6 or 7 shots, hits some threes, and he's capable of 50 or 60. All right, I'm going to end the prep for this weekend's game week here. One other thing I wanted to show you, though, as far as standard deviation goes, I think you can really gauge the ceiling of a player by looking at standard deviation. So LaMelo Ball is a star. I wouldn't consider him a superstar. He's below that 1.5 point per minute range. He's in the 1.35 range though, so very good. And his standard deviation is huge, so he's a great guy to have. Halliburton's obviously been awesome all year. Doncic and Jokic, both above 16, so well above anybody else. I would say those are your top 4 guys to target as far as like the high-end guys go. And of course, best of luck. We want you all to win. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate all the subscribers. We're almost to 100. I'll do some smaller videos just to update some injury news, probably in the mornings. Try to put out a little more content in 2024, but we'll still have your game prep for each game week. Try to do it well ahead of time for you so you get a jump on the deals. Good luck. Appreciate you watching.